Well, kind of transitioning on to probably our last topic here. Um, I feel like it was Barnes at the beginning of the season in terms of somebody you just kind of keep an update on, but almost it seems fitting. And I don't know why I didn't realize this at the beginning of the season, but kind of a rookie update is kind of a good thing, especially considering the fact that over the last month, Keegan Murray's three has not fallen, and I think as we pointed out last week, that three really unlocks a lot of things for his game. But the two aspects that it does not necessarily unlock are the two aspects that he's really, I mean, one, he's continually done, and two, he's really started to show, particularly in these last couple of games over this last week and a half or so, 2 weeks. One is the rebounding, and then two is his defense. And at the same time, in these last couple of games, his confidence seems a little bit it wasn't ever down, but it just seems like a little bit revamped, and he's executing a little bit better. But again, it's just like his work on the glass, his effort. I mean, everybody's work on the glass on that team is really good, and everybody on that defense is playing really, really well. But I was talking about to kind of talk about his defense here. I was mentioning that like the weak side defense has been really good for this team, as Mike Brown has commended multiple times over the last week or two. And one of the guys that's really good at that is Kevin Herter. He'll come away with a steal or have some good help. But another guy over the last couple of games that's been doing the same thing is Keegan Murray. And I don't know, he just looks great. And you saw him even outside of that context. His transition defense, he had that transition block. It was against the Bulls. And I think he comes up with a lot of blocks on that end, and I think he leads the team in blocks, not with a ton, but he's a really savvy and good player. And despite the fact that his three's not falling, he's continually found ways to impact the game, and it seems like those have kind of improved and started to blossom a little bit more. And I don't know, he got some garbage time against the Clippers and was able to put in a couple of threes, and he ended up with 23 points. And he had another decent game another solid game, I would say, against the Bulls. I would say a good game, actually, I guess, because he talked about his impact on both ends of the floor. So it seems like I wouldn't say he's really slumping so much right now. Maybe it's 3-point shot, but I feel like even that is he's coming out of it. And I don't know, Keegan Murray's looked pretty good. It's like over the last three. What do you think?
Yeah, he's definitely looked a lot better over the last three. I mean, he set his career high against the Clippers. And it was a lot in garbage time, but I mean, like we look at Keegan, it's like, yeah, he's a stretch four, right? Like a lot of his, we put a lot on him to hit that three. But like you said, he's a lot more than that. His rebounding has been looking good, and his defense it's been pretty solid all year. Um, so we can't overlook those things, right? And try not to. I think he's a good cutter. I think he mishandles a lot of passes and makes some. I don't know. He's a good cutter, but his finishing with after the cut can be questionable early on. But I think that's just him being a rookie. And I don't know. I question his confidence, especially with some of those drop passes on the cuts and maybe some of the misses near the rim. But he had a nice post game. I don't know. I think he talked with Kyle and Kenny or whoever was doing it, and he was just like, after he scored his career high against the Clippers, he's just like, yeah, it's like I know the type of player I am, and like I'm a good player, and this team has my back. So it doesn't seem like his confidence is gone. He knows who he is. Maybe that shot just isn't falling right now, and I know that's kind of like the key issue of what everyone's looking at. And it does hurt the team lower, right? I mean, imagine if Keegan was playing like he was to start off the season and how he was in preseason and summer league. Like this team might have a couple more wins, and that's saying something too, because they won a lot of games in November, right? And that's when he struggled. But I don't know. Like I think he's fine. He's a rookie. It's nice that a couple threes have been falling for him over the last couple games, and hopefully that can pick back up. Because once that three starts falling again, and he does everything else pretty decently for a rookie. And I hope his catching ability after cuts gets a little better. I just see him, mishandle some balls, but yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see him start playing a little better because he needed to. He had a really rough November.
Mm. Yeah, I just feel like there's not a better lesson. I think in retrospect, we'll just look at it. People will say there's not a better lesson than coming into the league and lighting it up from three, to where you have opposing broadcasters. I know Bob Fitzgerald of the Warriors was saying it's like, the scouting report, they got, don't leave Murray alone. And it's like, you don't put that on everybody. You don't necessarily put that on rookies ever. And that was the scouting report coming out of Summer League, and especially through the first couple of games. And then that drops off. And all of a sudden, the thing that really unlocked your whole game is gone for a second, not forever. And you've got to find another way to make a similar impact. And it's been a journey. But quite frankly, when you think about it, just a couple of weeks, he's made a lot of progress. And of course, he also had his off the floor issues, which could have just kind of spun things out for a second there. But to kind of have the composure, which he's always had, to kind of come back and get up here, I guess it's just in the big picture. That's good, and it's kind of what we all expected. But also, in terms of like, what was that last point you said? I had another point here. What was that last thing you were saying? I thought, dang it.
I don't remember him not being able to hit the three, but
I was gonna say no. I was gonna say because
Okay.
you were pointing out that he was like mishandling balls, and sometimes he does lose the ball. And like, I know, again, maybe if anybody's listening that watched him at Iowa a little bit more, I know that like ball handling was kind of his biggest knock, I guess, coming out of college. And I don't know if Butterfingers kind of thing ever was a problem, or if that's just like slight mental lapses that will get mended. I don't know. I guess I'm asking for a little more insight there, but you're making a good point there. I mean, he does. He's not going to be on the hands team if he's on a football team. He's not going to be returning onside kicks.
Yeah, and just to bring up a point, kind of related to Murray, is that I saw. So I run a Facebook group. I help moderate one called Kingsland on Facebook, and there's a lot of Iowa fans that came over into the group once we drafted Murray. And I saw someone comment like about Murray's struggles, and he's like, "Yeah, like this dude in college, because I didn't watch him in college, and so I'm not really familiar. But he's just like this person said, like, yeah, like Murray in college, like his 3-point shot didn't really come around till later. Like he was like a post up guy, like that, and that was his go to in college. Like he was playing down low, and so like he's like, yeah, he was saying that we use Murray too much in like up the perimeter, but it's like you kind of have to. That's why we drafted him. But it sounds like he's still trying to learn that. So maybe that's why his struggles. It's kind of hard to believe because it's like he was shooting so well in summer league and in the preseason and early on this year. But I don't know. Maybe it sounds like the 3 ball is still a little new to him, especially the rate he shoots it in the NBA or is expected to. So I think that was something to keep in mind.
Yeah. I mean, it's because we were talking about Chris Murray last week, and we were noting that they're the reverse because Keegan Murray developed inside out basically, whereas Chris Murray, the better shooter of the two, is developing outside in essentially. So, that's why like I think some people were joking when like Keegan Murray was hitting all these threes. Like, is that Chris? Because
That's funny.
He's nailing them, and it makes so much sense. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but no, it makes a ton of sense because you watch. They'll comment on that if you watch Iowa games now. It seems like, where they'll kind of mention that because they try not to bring up Chris's brother so much because Chris is deserving of so much respect himself. The only reason that team got into the top 25 there for a second was because of Chris Murray, and I don't know what he's done in the last couple of games, but he picked it right back up, and he's primed for a really good year. And as we talked about last week, we'll see where he lands in the draft. It'll be interesting. But back to Keegan, it's just it's a process. It'll be interesting to see what he does on a 6-game road trip because the road troubles have definitely been troubles for him, which is expected with a rookie. But you've had a couple of road trips here. You had kind of a mini version of the 6-game road trip during Thanksgiving week. So hopefully he's warmed up for it, ready to go, and kind of can tie things together and kind of keep stringing together positive performances to, I guess, get us to stop talking about him.
Yeah, I would love nothing more. So yeah, he hasn't really performed that well on the road, and he's still trying to overcome that November slump, and it seems like he's getting out of it. So that's be a good test for Keegan. Nothing easy against good teams. Let's see if he can really claw himself out of that slump on the road, and that'd be huge for him. But we'll see. Maybe he'll just I don't know. He hasn't really looked that good on the road this year, so. I guess it'll just be interesting to see what he does. I hope he plays better on this road trip than he has on the past ones.
Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on.